Bottom trawling is a fishing practice that herds and captures the target species, like groundfish or crabs, by towing a net along the ocean floor. Floats are attached to the head rope, top of trawl opening, while weights and special gear are attached to the foot rope, bottom of trawl opening, to keep the net open as it moves through the water across the ocean floor. The mesh is designed to confine fish inside the net, trapping them in the code end as the trawl is hauled to the surface. A sweep attached to the net's foot rope collects marine animals as they lay on the bottom or gather before the trawl opening. The trawl gear may be constructed and rigged for various target species over different types of bottom surfaces. Sweep types include: many sea turtle species rest and forage on the bottom and are at risk of being captured in bottom trawls. Capture in a bottom trawl could result in drowning from being trapped in the net and held underwater for the duration of the trawl. Broken appendages or shell from the weight of the catch on top of them. Injury from the drop to the deck when the net is emptied aboard the fishing vessel. Stress and exhaustion from capture and release. Marine mammals can become entangled by trawl gear when swimming to forage or migrate, with risks differing widely between species. Species that forage on or near the seafloor are at risk of being captured or entangled in netting or tow lines. Pilot whales and common dolphins in the Atlantic are particularly susceptible to being caught in bottom trawls. Sea turtle mortality in trawl gear was once very high. Turtle excluder devices have greatly reduced these risks in some trawl fisheries and might even allow small cetaceans to escape as well. TEDs are currently only required in trawl fisheries targeting shrimp and summer flounder. Some recommended voluntary mitigation measures for reducing marine mammal bycatch include encouraging frequent radio communications between captains to raise awareness of nearby animals, bottom fishing, also called ledgering in the United Kingdom, is fishing of the bottom, demersal zone, of a deep body of water such as lake or ocean, targeting groundfish such as suckerfish, bream, catfish and crappie. It is contrasted with conventional angling in that no float is used with the fishing line. A common rig for bottom fishing is a weighted tackle called sinker, which is tied to the end of the fishing line, and a baited hook about an inch upline from the weight. Sometimes the sinker can be replaced by a cage or keg-like feeder which contains and releases ground bait to better attract fish. The method can be used both with hand lining and rod fishing, and can be done both from boats and from the land. The weight can also be used to cast the line to a further, more appropriate distance at deeper water away from the shoreline. Specialized fishing rods called bottom rods or donkers are also commonly used for bottom fishing. Due to the lack of a float to relay underwater status to the surface, a quiver tip, often coupled with a jingle bell, is used to signal the fisherman about whether the fish has successfully taken the hook. The objective for rigs used for bottom fishing is to take your bait to the bottom of the water and lure in the fish. The bait must appear appetizing to the fish. The most common rig used in bottom fishing is called a fish finder rig. The next rig is called a porby rig, for the reason that it is effective on porgies, grunts, snapper, and any other schooling, medium-sized fish. A rig that is rarely used is called a breakaway rig. The final rig is called a party boat rig, because you will see it on almost every party. In stock market terminology, bottom fishing can mean buying the cheapest investments, in terms of valuation ratios, available. Bottom fishing is value investing concentrated on the very cheapest companies. The term can be derogatory as it can imply a lack of attention to the quality of the investments selected. In stock trading, bottom fishing can also describe the practice of driving the price of a security lower in order to trigger stop loss orders, which will then commonly drive a security's price even lower, at which point the person or entity responsible for the triggering will then buy up those shares. As part of this phenomenon, a security's price will then owe. Is seafood caught through bottom trawling sustainable? Find out more about this method of fishing and how its impact on the ocean can be reduced. Bottom, or demersal, trawling is a fishing method that uses towed nets to catch fish and other marine species living on or close to the seabed. Bottom trawling includes several different types of fishing gear that use a cone-like net with a closed end, cod end, that holds the catch. The net is towed by one or two boats and held open by boards, trawl doors, or a metal beam. These devices often make contact with the seabed. Many commonly eaten species can be caught using bottom trawls. These include whitefish like cod, haddock, hoki and hake, and flatfish such as halibut and sole. Prawns, shrimp and squid can also be caught through this method. Bottom trawling is an efficient way to catch large quantities of fish and shellfish that live on the seafloor, which are needed to feed a growing global population. Around a quarter of all wild-caught seafood is caught via this method every year. Fish are an important source of nutritious food, with over 3 billion people relying on our oceans for a major source of protein and other nutrients such as omega-3 fatty acids, iron and vitamin B12. Bottom trawl gears come into contact with the seabed, and this can cause damage to the habitats and marine organisms found there if fishing activities are not well managed. As seabed habitats vary throughout the ocean, the impact of bottom trawling depends on the type of habitat encountered and the species present. Habitats that contain fragile, long-lived or slow-growing species such as corals and sepins are particularly vulnerable and should not be trawled as they may be unable to recover. However, some habitats have more resilience, such as sandy or muddy seabeds in shallow waters that are regularly exposed to disturbance from strong waves and storms. Bottom trawling is also associated with high levels of unwanted catch, or bycatch, as the nets used can be unselective. This can lead to accidental capture of non-target species, or young or undersized fish. It is important that such impacts are carefully managed and reduced through measures such as gear modifications to improve selectivity. Can the seabed impact of bottom trawling be reduced? Damage to habitats can be prevented by avoiding bottom trawling in areas with more sensitive habitats. Seabed mapping and habitat surveys are used to detect areas that contain sensitive habitats and species and identify where fishing activity overlaps, using vessel monitoring and tracking data, VMS. This enables fisheries to avoid these areas and adapt their practices to minimize the impact of any interactions. Areas containing more sensitive habitats can be closed to fishing altogether. Closures are often introduced by governments or regional fisheries management authorities, or fisheries may decide to close regions voluntarily. For example, the Scottish trawl fleet immediately closed an area to its vessels following the discovery of vulnerable seapens rather than waiting for the region to be designated as a marine protected area. Action can be taken to protect untrawled regions from bottom trawling. The South African hake trawl fishery voluntarily froze its trawl footprint in 2007 and can only operate in specific zones that have already been trawled. Agreeing to operate within these boundaries is now a condition for obtaining a fishing license. Impacts on habitats can also be reduced by modifying the gear used and how it is operated. This can include limiting the weight and size of gear and decreasing the number of contact points between gear and seabed. For example, rubber discs or balls can be added to the ropes that are pulled across the seafloor either side of the net. Bycatch reduction devices are an effective way to allow large or unwanted species to escape trawl nets. Many cold water prawn fisheries, such as the Scotian Shelf Northern Prawn Trawl Fishery in Canada, have reduced unwanted catch of groundfish such as cod and haddock by adding a grid-like exclusion device to trawl nets. These prevent the fish from entering the cod end, while allowing the smaller prawns to pass through and funnel them towards an escape hole in the top of the net. Trawling in Australian waters has been an environmental issue for the last few years. In December 2014, Australia banned super trawlers, a designation of fishing boat larger than 130 meters. A petition in favor of the ban said, super trawlers are part of a global problem that has led to the devastation of the world's fisheries, marine life and local livelihoods, and we don't want that kind of fishing in Australia. A controversial point of the ban is the definition of super trawler, which currently does not consider processing capacity, just the size of the vessel. 1 year later, the specific ban is still in place. However, environmentalists are now calling for a further ban on all large trawlers from Australian waters. Adding to the controversy was the recent all clear to fish again given to the Geelong Star, a large vessel, although it is less than 130 meters in length. This factory trawler caused 7 albatross deaths a few months ago when they accidentally got caught in its sonar gear. Environmental organizations argue it shouldn't have been there in the first place because ships of this size can cause harm to sensitive species, like these albatross, regardless of where they fish or how careful they are. After effectively banning super trawlers, environmental NGOs now seek to ban all large vessels from Australian waters. The fundamental objectives of fisheries management are to ensure that what is removed is sustainable and that the effect of the methods used for its removal is compatible with society's expectations for ethical behavior, animal rights and ecosystem sustainability, including interactions with the broad marine food chain. In this regard, Australia has achieved tremendous success in the conservative management of fish stocks in recent years, from approximately 40% of species in Commonwealth-managed fisheries being assessed as overfished in 2004 to none being subjected to overfishing in 2014. This success has been based on commitment to 3 fundamental principles. First, appreciation that sustainability of fishing activities and the underlying resource base is paramount and achievable. Second, elimination of truly destructive fishing practices and strict control of fishing that causes even localized damage to underlying ecosystems. And third, strict control of catches, including of bycatch and incidentally impacted species. But Australia has a very poor record in developing new fisheries and reducing our reliance on imports from countries with less conservatively managed resource use. With this premise of effective fisheries management in mind, consider the following comparisons between a fishery with many small trawl vessels and a fishery with fewer, larger trawlers. Bycatch and discards would be easier to monitor and process on a smaller number of large trawlers. All forms of trawling are minimally selective, regardless of vessel size. The advantage of individual larger trawl vessel is that these facilities are more likely to have the capacity to separate, process and store bycatch species to make them available for sale upon landing. Additionally, these larger vessels are equipped with better data collection technology to properly count and assess bycatch rates for better policy making. Indeed, all forms of data collection and research are facilitated on larger vessels. Larger vessels are also better suited for high seas fishing, which could have 2 major advantages over a small vessel fleet. First, it could diminish fishing effort in inshore areas where marine protected mammals are disproportionately concentrated. Second, it would allow Australian fishing effort to exploit underutilised stocks in the more offshore areas of the EEZ and into the high seas. This could bolster food security and serve to address the lopsided trade imbalance in seafood that currently exists. If Australians hope to eat 40% more seafood, as is prescribed by the NHMRC, new harvest practices must be adopted. A large vessel fleet is better equipped to bring greater amounts of high-quality seafood to market. The scientists. These researchers are also investigating how stock catches have developed over time. According to this model, a fish stock is depleted when the catch decreases conspicuously within a few years. Attempts are being made to circumvent the lack of stock calculations by simply interpreting catches over the course of time. The researchers have meticulously requested information from the authorities of the countries responsible for regions with no catch data at all. Based on the model, which takes 1,500 commercially exploited stocks and around 500 other stocks into account, the fish are in even worse shape than assumed by the FAO. 56.4% of the stocks are overexploited or depleted, not 29.9% as claimed by the FAO. But the work of this American-German research group is itself under fire, with claims that its data is inconsistent and still unreliable. It presents a distorted picture of the reality, say other researchers. Which of the methods better illustrates the state of the world's fisheries is currently a subject of heated debate. Despite the uncertainties, the researchers and the FAO agree on one thing. Over the years the situation has deteriorated. Recovery will only be possible if the endangered stocks are fished less intensely for a number of years. The larger the fishing vessel, the more stable the onboard workspace. Smaller fishing vessels are inherently more dangerous than larger counterparts that can offer more stability during harvests in poor weather conditions.